Welcome to the Teaching Journeys podcast, hosted by Dave Roberts. Humanity possesses a unique skill, the ability to pass knowledge from one generation to the next. This podcast embraces that ability, offering learning opportunities through conversations with extraordinary guests. Dave aims to leave a positive mark on individuals around the world. So before you dive into today's episode, please share this podcast with your network, including friends, family, and colleagues. And please consider leaving a rating or review. Your support makes all the difference.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Teaching Journeys podcast. I'm your host, Dave Roberts, and today it is my pleasure to have as my guest, Diana Fritz. Diana Fritz is a dynamic executive leader, cancer thriver, and passionate advocate for authenticity, resilience, and positive impact. With over 25 years of experience spanning executive leadership, operations, human resources, business planning, and technology, Diana has built a reputation for fostering teamwork, driving organizational health, and leading with influence, not just a title. A member of the Maxwell Leadership Executive Program, a corporate facilitator, and a certified DISC consultant, Diana is dedicated to empowering individuals and organizations through open, engaging, and values-driven leadership. Her mission is to create a meaningful impact and ensure every person she encounters feels valued. Beyond her professional achievements, Diana is a devoted wife, mother, and committed volunteer. She thrives on sharing insights about leadership, resilience, and navigating challenges with authenticity. Diana, welcome to the Teaching Journeys podcast. It's a pleasure having you on the program today.
Thank you, Dave. It's a pleasure to be here.
And we have to give a shout out to Noemi Beres. I call her the podcast agent extraordinaire. She has this unique gift of connecting her clients with podcasts that are going to resonate with their journey, with their platform. And she has sent me so many wonderful guest referrals, you included. She hooked us up. We had a really great pre-call, and we find ourselves at this point where we're recording an episode.
Yes, no, many kudos to her. I have found her to be a huge blessing.
I've learned that people don't come into our path by coincidence anymore. It's by design. And how we met was through the world of LinkedIn, and I think it was through pure serendipity. And I'm glad she's a part of my circle, and I'm glad she has referred really great guest contributors like yourself to me. So,
Yeah.
so with that, are you ready to go?
Yeah, let's go.
All right, let's do it. First question for you, Diana. Please tell our listeners about the experiences that have shaped your current life path and passions today.
This is good timing because earlier this morning, I introduced myself to a group of secondary students. And whenever I speak to a crowd of students in person or remotely, I always need to give some context to the elephant in the room, right? How do I look the way I do? But the ability to smile looking the way I do was shaped by the foundation that was my parents and grandparents set for me in terms of faith and hard work, as well as lessons from sports and teamwork and learning how to have that mental toughness to move through life that way. And to just the power of mindset and never forgetting that no matter what happens, I still get to choose how I respond. And those lessons helped me tremendously when I first got the news that I had cancer and a rare form of cancer in 2014. Admit, I paused at first going, okay, why now? Like, now's not the time. And I was a single mom, executive, had a lot of things planned for that year. That surgeries to remove cancer was not on the list. But I remember taking that moment to pause pushed me to go, okay, it's going to be okay. And I'm going to get to meet people I never would have met. I'm going to go to Miami, 4 hours away from home. And I'm going to walk indoors. I never would have gotten to walk in and meet people I never would have gotten to meet. And that started a new aspect of life that I never would have experienced without the adversity. I had 2 eyes for 9 of those cancer journey years. And then in late 2022, I received a call from the doctor letting me know that the battle was shifting. We were no longer fighting for an eye, we were fighting for a life. And that was an impactful moment. I can remember where I was sitting that day and the emotion that came through. But quickly, I went, "Oh, but wait, I can be thankful. I had 9 extra years with 2 eyes, and I get to live and hit 50 with 1, and I'm still here, and I've made it past 50. And so do I have a unique appearance about me? Absolutely. But the unique appearance has helped me to make connections and meet people and add value to people that I otherwise never would have met. So I can be grateful in that.
Well, and I can be grateful that there was an option for you. I mean, it's for me, it's better losing an eye than losing a life.
Yes.
And and obviously that is, with cancer, I mean, the first thing when somebody mentions cancer, it's either you're going to live or you're going to die. There's no what's going to happen in between. Those are the first things that go into your mind. And when you're faced with that kind of a choice, either surgery to save a life or, take your chances, just roll the dice, which with cancer is not really a good option to do. You do what is going to maintain your life, maintain your stamina, and allow you to move forward and with purpose in the world. So, it's just, I'm glad that was the outcome for you because, Diana, too many people that, I've cared about, and I'm sure that you've cared about, have lost their battle with cancer or have lost their challenges with cancer. And I'm just glad that you are around to talk about what you're doing in the world and making impact on the world. So, and thank you for sharing that.
Any person that has navigated through cancer or navigating through it right now, the journey continues.
Mhm.
It's not, you're constantly or have a cadence where you're going back in for an MRI or a scan and you are, it doesn't just end, right? You continue to check in, which is an interesting piece I often think through. I don't love going for a quarterly MRI, but it is a reminder that I do that to check my head, right? To make sure there's no cancer reoccurrence, but there's value in a quarterly check-in on my physical state and my mental state and my spiritual state. And it's a reminder for me every 3 months to go, okay, this check-in reminder is bigger than just cancer.
Yeah. Hey, there was another question that just occurred to me. As a cancer thriver, how has your outlook on the world changed? How has your worldview shifted as a result of being a cancer thriver?
That I learned that term from a friend of mine. I joined a Zoom call doing a training that I had put off. And during my radiation, I said, you know what? I have nothing else to do. Now's my time, right? No excuses. And I joined a Zoom call and didn't prep them ahead of time of my unique look. And I joined the call and they didn't quite know what to say to me. They're like, Diana, is there a problem with your camera? Because they thought the camera was like blurring my eye. And I just kind of chuckled. I was like, no, this is me. This is what I look like. But it led to further dialogue, right? We had a connection then. And he was like, Diana, we're cancer thrivers. We didn't let cancer define us. We're going to thrive through cancer. And I certainly would say that I've been refined by it. I have grown, I have stretched, I have learned a lot, but I have worked hard for it not to define me. I did not want to be a victim.
Yeah, and we do have a choice in terms of how we address challenge. I mean, we can choose to be victimized by it, or we can choose to thrive through it. Either one of the two. And I think after there's a period of time where we allow the pain of our changed circumstances to sink in and just learn from that, then it's a time to decide how are we going to move forward with the life that we have remaining? How are we going to move forward with purpose? How are we going to transcend those challenges that have been presented to us?
Yes. Yeah. And it's interesting. um, I stand out. I can't go anywhere without somebody probably looking at me oddly. And right now in this season of my life, I am serving in a role at a school and helping with a leadership, serving in an interim role where there's a leadership gap at a school. And so preschoolers see me and they all look at me. And it's just such a unique opportunity to talk to them because they ask great questions, and the kindergartners, and through that, and I'm so thankful because if I were bitter about my look or what was happening, I wouldn't get to grab this opportunity to connect with all these little hearts and minds, and I just love that.
Well, we can learn a lot about talking about difficult topics by watching kids. Kids are just honest, they're
Yeah.
pure, and they're just going to ask what's on their mind.
Yes.
And as adults, we can learn a lot from that.
Yes, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
I always tell them, like, I want you to ask me questions because you have asked me questions that I have never even thought of.
Yeah, and as an educator myself, I tell my students that I can learn as much from you as I hope you can learn from me. So ask me questions and particularly challenge me on things that you think I haven't heard about before, because that makes me better as a teacher. It allows for growth.
Yes. Yes, agree.
Now, you are an author. You've written a book called Uniquely Imperfect, Uniquely Qualified. What is the book about? What inspired you to write it? And what do you want readers to take away from it?
The book is lessons on my cancer journey. And when I was first diagnosed with cancer in 2014, I had written in my journal that I wanted to write a book someday. And I let it there in my journal for 10 years. And then in my radiation time frame where I was forced to rest some, I was reminded, Diana, you wanted to write a book. And the intent of the book was not just to dump, this is my cancer story, but to talk about what lessons I learned along the way. And my first chapter is a story about my grandmother and her impact in my life and what I learned from her to keep carrying forward. And each chapter closes with some reflection of mine, as well as some application questions, because I want to spark in people's minds that who was that person like my grandmother in your life that maybe you need to reach out to and say thank you. Or there's a chapter on people that reached out to me to help me when I first found out about cancer. Who do you need to reach out to that you need to encourage? Like, don't miss those moments. And so that's the theory, how the book is set up. The intention is the impact. You don't have to be a cancer patient or survivor to read it. It's intended for anyone that's navigating through an adversity or watching somebody else navigate through one, so you can see a different lens of how you connect or how you can encourage or how you personally can move forward. I have on my list to write a child's version of it just because these children inspire me with their questions. So I need to write a version for them too. Did I answer all of your questions? I apologize. You gave me 3 and...
You did.
Okay. All right.
You did. Yeah, I like the fact that you could take a look at your own journey and also develop application questions that can apply to somebody else's journey. Because you're right. I mean, the lessons that we learn from our unique challenges, there's some similarity in terms of what we've learned, regardless of the nature of that challenge. And the other thing I am grateful for is that not only is the book for individuals who are going through challenge, but for individuals who are trying to support individuals going through challenge. And many times they don't know how to do that.
Yes. Yeah. And I've had friends read the book and they call me and they say, Diana, I feel like a terrible friend. And well, why? I don't understand. Like, I never knew, like, all of the things that you were navigating through. And I just smile at them and say, but that's good though, because my goal was to be really transparent and authentic around what the journey is like. There's pictures in there of, me in front of a proton radiation machine, or waking up from a gamma knife procedure and what that looks like. Because many of us, we're not going to walk through those walls, but we're going to know somebody that does, and we have no idea what it really looks like. And so I just wanted to be as real as I could be and just share what those pictures are and what it's like.
Yeah. I mean, and the journey through a cancer diagnosis is very real, and a lot of times it's not pretty, particularly when you talk about the treatment aspect. I mean, I've read, the chemo sometimes and I've witnessed that chemo is worse than the treatment itself is actually worse than the disease because of the side effects and just watching your loved ones just go through that, it's painful.
Mhm. Yeah.
And at this stage of the game, we need to be honest and we need to be raw, and people need to know that this is how it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's an interesting, our doctors and nurses, I have met some fabulous doctors and nurses. They don't know what it's like to be the patient, though, on the other side most times. So that was another inspiration for me to write the book because it helps them too. Like my doctors have read the book and they pass it on to other doctors, and that just makes me smile because they've made an impact on me, but it's a way for me to make an impact on them to help them see what it's like to be the patient of them or their team.
Yeah, I think the best professionals are the ones that position themselves as learners in addition to being a professional. The best professionals I know don't know everything, but they're willing to enlist those individuals, who know more than they do in a certain area to improve themselves and improve their services. And those are the kind of professionals I like to be aligned with.
Yes, me too. Me too.
Yeah. Now, why do you believe being uniquely imperfect is actually a strength?
It's a strength if you grab it, I suppose. If I withdrew and was bitter and not willing to share the lessons from my journey, then it probably wouldn't be a strength. It would be something that deterred people from me. But what I've watched and was doing some reading recently as well, there's many people that their self-worth is determined by their appearance. And I suppose there's a point in time in my life, right, as a teen, that was important to me as well. And I can remember starting to go through this journey, even when I had two eyes. The left eye looked incredibly different than the right eye because I had so many surgeries on it to try to remove the cancer near it. And there was a season when I was caring about that. And then I was like, that doesn't matter. I'm here, right? I'm alive. And I just need to be okay with that. And I work to shift to it matters like what's inside and how that radiates through. And that's what matters the most. And it matters to me more than I realize, right? The fact that my heart's good and that I care about that. And I actually have the opportunity to speak to teens today to remind them we have a choice, right? We go to a fancy hotel, we go see the fountain in the lobby. We don't go look at the drain.
Yep.
And we can be the fountain, right? And be positive and uplifting. And then people want to be near us, right? That's the positive self-worth that shines through your smile, regardless of how you look, even if you look like me. The drain, right, is what sucks the air out of the room. We don't want to be that. And I don't want to be that, right? I don't want to be the drain. I want to be the smile, be the positive one, and to help people to see that despite this unique look, I can still move forward and I can still add value to other people. Many times I've watched people up on stage encourage someone to be, just to be resilient, keep fighting, but they look like everything's perfect.
Yeah.
They look like they haven't lived it. And I look like I've lived it. I show it with the visual look that I have lived it.
And I think for anybody that's lived through challenge, I think to talk about being resilient, to talk about being a thriver, that has more credibility. Otherwise, for somebody who hasn't lived it, it just becomes words, or it becomes, well, this is the next talking point to get individuals to listen to your speech. And you can't talk about resilience unless you've lived it, unless you've gone through challenge, and unless you're a testament in terms of being transformed by your circumstances. And I think, in some ways there's perfection and imperfection. I think if we can embrace that, it
Yeah.
makes us more genuine, it makes us more human, and we can kind of, I think, reflect to those individuals all of the emotions, all of the thoughts, everything that comprises the human experience. And we're, as a result of that, not only do we become in service to each other, but we also are able to develop very genuine relationships with people.
Yes. Yes. And um, if I like to serve people, that is just something I like to do. And when I knew I needed to be away from home for 7 weeks for radiation, I was going, okay, what am I going to do? Right. I'm going to be away from my kids. I'm going to go through this journey. And I asked my team in Miami, what patients are there that have a similar experience as me that I can help them? Like, how can I serve? How can I help you? And at first they told me no, I needed to focus on me and my healing. And then I started to get phone calls saying, I have a patient that has, they don't have the same type of cancer, but they have to undergo a similar procedure. And will you talk to them? And that's a great honor for me to get to do that, to help them through the journey, thinking through their fears and that they can do it. And all the questions pop in their heads. And I smile when I listen to them because I had those questions. I can relate. I didn't really have anyone to ask. And so I'm happy to be there for them. And it could provide some purpose for me into the journey because I'm able to help someone else to move forward.
And I think their stories inspire us. What they're doing to try to transcend challenge inspires us, and we can learn from that too. And in the process, we create a very transcendent community.
Yeah.
So, how has your experiences as a single mom, executive, and a cancer thriver shaped your leadership?
All three of them have done it in different ways, I will say. Um, as a single parent, I can remember before I was diagnosed with cancer, I have 2 boys, and they were pretty young when I separated from their dad, and they were tough, and boys are really rambunctious and full of energy. And also, when I was first diagnosed with cancer, my oldest was like 4.5, 5, so he couldn't really articulate what he was processing, seeing his mom with her eye closed for 4 months or those different things happening. And it was probably the toughest parenting season. And I can remember this tough walks into preschool to drop him off and going, okay, I'm going to get up in the front of a crowd of 200 and they're all going to listen to me. And I can't get this little guy to listen to me. So that was very humbling but powerful for me to remember because parenting is humbling. Just because we can do great at a job does not mean that we automatically know how to parent. It's a humbling journey to figure it out. And it took a while for me, but my 2 boys they're doing great. So I think I learned some lessons from them. It was also very important to me to lead myself well, because if I wasn't leading myself well, I certainly couldn't lead them well. And it was really important that they saw a mom that was leading positively through a cancer journey. I didn't want them to see a victim. I wanted to show them how to live and how to lead and how to navigate. So they were an important inspiration for me in that. As a leader, I still continued my role as an executive during that season. I did pause for 3 weeks while I was having surgeries in 2014. and had a great boss that stood up for me and said, Diana, you're going to rest for 3 weeks, which is really impactful to have a leader that you report to that cares enough to note that. And so that made a statement for me. So I always want to learn from that and extend that same grace to anybody on my team that is struggling. But I continued to lead and to serve in my environment in that leadership role, but it certainly helped me to be more sensitive to the needs of people and to others, and as well as to just be transparent and authentic around what I was navigating through. Not something you can really hide when you come back with your eye closed and it's all black and blue. So be true and transparent. It was a great lesson for me. On the cancer side, I think I have a rare form of cancer. So it's not like I could go online and see thousands of articles on what to do or who to go to. Not the case. But it didn't mean that I didn't need to ask a lot of questions and to learn things and to make sure that I was still continuing to lead myself well or to communicate things. I did share in my book, and maybe it helps some. As an executive, you learn to ask a lot of questions. You want to make sure you understand the facts, you understand the problem we're trying to solve. You're not just making quick decisions. You want to make sure you're making the right decisions. And so as I started to realize that I needed to go, my communication to my doctors changed to be more like, work, Diana. Okay, so what's the end goal, right? My end goal is to live. It is not to save the eye, right? And you start to change that. And that was powerful for me to go back and look at those emails and those communications, because I was reminded, how we show up sometimes at work isn't always how we show up in our personal life. And it's a powerful reminder for me that I need to lead and fight for the right things, no matter what hat I have on, whether it's for my children, for myself, my role as a leader. I need to make sure that I'm true to me, no matter what hat I have on.
Yeah, and so often I think leaders kind of misdirect their energy. They will put so much energy into a fight that isn't worth fighting, or you're not going to win. So you put your energy into those areas that you think are going to be at least a positive outcome for all parties involved. Not necessarily the outcome everybody wants, but it's an outcome that both parties can live with. And I think the other thing that I heard is, especially with the parenting piece, it's important to kind of listen to your children. And it's important as a leader to listen to those individuals whom you're responsible for leading, because more often than not, they have a greater sense of what's going on in the trenches than a lot of times the actual leaders do. And it's important for us as leaders to be able to listen to that, be able to respond to that, and also modify our strategies based on their input, which creates, again, another community of support, but also a community where everybody is pushing for the same mission because everybody's invested. And the other thing is a humanitarian approach to leadership. We can never forget that.
Yeah.
So often I think there are leaders that are so concerned with the bottom line that they forget the humanitarian approach. And my belief is that if you take into account and you lead with the humanitarian lens first, the bottom line is going to take care of itself.
Yes.
So I could see where all of that kind of mesh from all of the roles that you've had to play in your life. Yes.
And I've worn different hats as an executive too. And it's interesting. I spend a lot of time in technology, but I'm more of a people. I want to fight for the people. I want to be connected, as you mentioned, like hearing from the people and listening and connecting to them where they are, not expecting them to come to me, but I want to go serve them and see how I can help them and listen and connect, and then help figure out how we move forward. That's been important to me. I've had, as I moved in my leadership journey, I've been put in roles where people are like, well, why are we reporting to her? What qualifications does she have? And I knew there was doubt, but I would shift to, okay, well, how can I serve you? Like, how can I help you? What are roadblocks you have that I can help with? And it's actually been a beautiful thing for me, because when people are fearful that I'm going to micromanage them, I can't, right? I can't do your job, but what can I help you with?
Yeah.
It's been a beautiful thing.
Well, there's a difference between servant leadership and micromanaging.
Yes, exactly. And I like to serve.
If that were me that were being micromanaged, I would tell my supervisor, if you don't trust that I can do the job that you hired me for, I would suggest you do it yourself and give me another role. I have suggested that to past managers that I worked for. If you don't trust that I can do the job, well, then maybe you need to do it yourself and just let me know where I fit in the organizational scheme.
Yes.
So, and I think that cured them of micromanaging me. So when I mentioned, you can do my job if you'd like, I'd be more than happy to serve you in that way. So yeah, when I took that approach, that kind of stifled the conversation.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that manager chose not to over scrutinize me as much as he did before. So anyway, how can recognizing the value in life's toughest challenges help individuals go from a position of self-doubt to one of self-worth?
That I don't think it comes right away, right? It's as you're navigating through those challenges and realizing what the opportunity is. I certainly can think there are many moments where you're sinking to the challenge instead of rising to the opportunity that's there. And those lessons have come in different ways over the years. I went to college when I was 16 because I wanted to play basketball in college. So I just graduated high school a year early and went to play basketball. And I tore my ACL, which is a season-ending injury. So I quickly was like, okay, perspective, right? I thought I was about basketball and that was what I was going to do. And that's what was most important. And it got taken away. And I could have chosen to be, okay, withdraw from college, drop out, my reason's gone. But instead, I was reminded of, okay, well, what's the opportunity around you? And that helped to shape that first, like what I thought was my big knock my socks off moment in my life, to learn later that was minor. But that helped me to look for the opportunity, and it didn't have to define me. I got to meet people. I changed my career. I met people to help with college advising. Like, it changed who I was, certainly, but it helped me to redefine Diana and to refine how I was going to show up. And I think that was a starting point for me. As I navigated through the eye and this unique look I have, I will certainly have people say, well, Diana, why don't you cover it up? Like, why do you just leave it like that? I'm like, well, I can't really do anything. This is what it is. And if I wanted to try to cover it up, I don't even know how I would do it. It's pretty significant, and this a simple eye patch isn't going to cover that up. But I've learned that it's me. It's who I am now, and I'm good with that. I'm really fine with that, and it's helped me to show other people that have unique appearances or a disability, like they don't have a limb potentially, that it's okay. It's who we are, and I know this has helped me to become better as a person. And one of the greatest compliments I've received was somebody coming up to me after church. I shared one Sunday about my journey and my story. He's like, Diana, I'm going to butcher the name of this, but have you heard of the Japanese form of art, kintsugi? And I looked at him like, no, I have no idea what you're talking about. He's like, go look it up. And so I did, but they take the broken pieces of pottery and some melted gold and refine them back together and make this beautiful piece of art, where it's a great analogy for anybody that has a scar or an adversity that can be rebuilt and be a beautiful work of art that can be used to help others and inspire somebody else.
And in brokenness, there's beauty if we choose to see it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And also, it's up to those who are broken to radiate beauty in spite of the brokenness,
Hmm.
and as a way to transcend that. And obviously, you've been able to do that through the work that you've done, through your presence, through your willingness to share your story. And so we can say that kintsugi, your heart, that brokenness is, there's truly beauty in brokenness. Now let's talk about your services as a coach for a minute. Let's just say I wanted to retain your services as a coach. What would your expectations be of me as a client? And what should I expect from you as a coach?
That's good. Great question. Coaching has been a passion of mine, and I started as a coach for sports, and so have continued through that. But when it's in regards to a one-on-one coaching scenario, I like to start with a DISC assessment, as it's really important to understand personality style and how you naturally tend to communicate or process information. I find that helpful for both of us. I share mine and I have them share theirs, and we walk through that together.
Diana, let me just interject for a minute. Can you tell the audience who may not know what DISC stands for?
Yeah. DISC is a communication and personality assessment type. So you'll see it online, probably multiple versions of it, where the D is a more dominant personality, I is more interactive, the S is more steady. That's me. I'm the steady S. And the C is more conscientious. Can't get that out today. Conscientious and compliant, or the rule follower and data side. And we all have a mix of those. And it's important just to understand that. I can't tell you how many times I've walked in to help with people not getting along or not understanding each other's perspective, and how doing that assessment helps them to go, oh, now I get it. It's not personal, right? It's not me. It's not that they don't like me. That's how we're wired. So I like to start with that, because that helps us to just get to know ourselves better and to be transparent about who I am. Then I also have an assessment that I have them fill out just to gauge different areas of their life, like whether it's vacation or exercise, like just what are their thoughts, right? And how their life is right now. And that helps them to set the framework for the first conversation. What are those things? What are the goals I have? What are the areas that I'd like coaching in to move forward on? And so that requires some openness and transparency to do that. And if you're not willing to do that, I don't know that I can really be a good coach for you, because I need to know you a little bit. And then I want a weekly commitment for us to meet and talk. And we follow a framework on a weekly basis in regards to what do we want to accomplish today? What are the obstacles preventing us to get there? Get to some action steps and things that we're going to move forward on. And then we just follow that same cadence on a weekly basis and really help somebody to grow and to move forward.
It sounds reasonable. I mean, you set the expectations out very clearly, and that person has the option to say, yeah, this is going to work for me, or no, I need to rethink it, or
Yeah.
maybe I need to go somewhere else. But I think that type of informed consent, whether you're a clinician or a coach, when you let individuals know that this is what I'm willing to provide you as your coach, here's what I need from you in order to make this a collaborative relationship. I think the more transparent both parties can be, the more we're going to be in a position to make, a decision, to whether or
Yeah.
not we're going to move forward with that coach, or whether we're going to go somewhere else, or whether that coach thinks that client's going to be a good fit for them.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's always about modeling integrity and doing things ethically and from,
Yeah.
I think out of moral obligation to do the right thing.
Yeah.
And obviously you espouse all of those values. So anyway, one of my last questions for you today is, if you're going to leave our listeners with one thing, one ultimate takeaway, Diana, and you've left our listeners with a lot, but what would that one ultimate takeaway be?
Don't give up. Pause, reset, and find the opportunity in the shadows.
Yeah, and a lot of times, with every bit of darkness we experience, if we look long enough, we can see a little bit of glimmer of light, and there's always a light within the darkness. And through the darkness, we need to not give up and push to that glimmer of light, because that glimmer of light may lead to other ultimate possibilities for us.
Yes.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
And my last question for you, and this gives you an opportunity to promote yourself a little bit. Tell our listeners, if they want to find out more about you, your services, purchase your book, retain you as a coach, what is the best way for them to do that, Diana?
I have two ways for you. So one is just connect with me on LinkedIn under Diana Fritz, and this is the picture of me, so you won't confuse me with another Diana Fritz. Or you can go to my website, which is grittuiuq.com, and there's a way for you to connect with me on the website as well and reach out for more information.
Perfect. And I'll make sure all of your contact information gets in the episode notes for our podcast. And Diana, with that, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure talking with you today, and I hope we can do this again in the future.
That sounds great. Thanks, Dave.
You're welcome. And with that is a wrap on another episode of the Teaching Journeys podcast. I'm your host, Dave Roberts, wishing you peace.